The Say Something podcast is brought to you by amomentwithmorris.com and blackblueprints.com. That's blackblueprints with a Z.com. I'm Jermaine Morris here with the one and only Mr. Barry Accius.
Yes, sir.
We are back with the newest episode of the Say Something podcast.
Say something, say something, say something.
That's where we always talk about what's happening in the life out here in the traffic out here in these streets.
In these cool streets.
Cold streets, but it's been 100 plus out here in Cali.
Man.
107 degrees out here in these streets.
Satan degrees.
We're bringing you episode number 84.
Booyah.
And as always, we like to highlight somebody who's done it for the culture.
A moment of black excellence with Jermaine Morris.
And we always stress the importance and the significance of our own narrative and highlighting our own and championing our own and telling our own stories. Well, this individual, a queen of the people.
Yeah.
And she's still with us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not a dead body that you scraped up from the archives?
Oh, damn. Okay.
I'm just,
I know what you said. A Philly native and accredited. She was got her degree from Stanford. But she was involved in some of the most poignant shows that you could say over the culture of the last few decades. She made her major shift after being inspired by the Terry McMillan story. Okay. You remember Terry McMillan from the 90s? She was the author. Well, she did the book, which turned into the movie Waiting to Exhale. Mm-hmm. And so she was inspired by that movie because she liked the idea of the story of just four black women of living semi-different lives, but just the interactions, and it reminded her of some of her own life, her college experiences. So she took that idea and she turned it into a TV show, which was kind of loosely based around like her college experience. She was involved in programs, everything from like assistant to writing to creating to all that, from shows like A Different World to Half and Half to Hanging with Mr. Cooper to Blackish, the Wayans brothers, even creating the Netflix show Dear White People. She took the show, like I said, the idea from her friends and her college experience, and she created the show Living Single. Okay. And so this is somebody who's been involved in really just expressing our stories from more of our point of view that weren't really shown on TV at the time. Like she was the first black woman to develop her own primetime series.
Dope.
So we give credit to some of those doing it now, but we have to respect those who started doing it then. She got award, NAACP Image Award, BET Awards, all that stuff from Outstanding Comedy Series, Outstanding Producer. Shout out and a little love one time to Yvette Lee Bowser.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, she was. If you go through the '90s, like she was really had her stamp on a lot of shows.
Living Single was my show.
Who spoke to you? Who spoke to you? There was Khadijah. There was Khadijah, who was Queen Latifah. Sinclair, that was the kind of little kind of out there one.
Yeah,
that was Kim Coles. There was Kim Fields,
Kim
Regine,
Fields.
And then there was
Kim Fields. I got to be
Max, the lawyer.
Kim Fields she was mine. I've had a crush on Kim Fields ever since the Facts of Life jump off. You get what I'm saying? So
little Tootie.
Dang, those were some good times for some good shows. You had Martin as well. You still had Living Color.
Yeah, I
still believe it was still on, and I want to say that it was some great comedy. Just looking at some of the older episodes, right? The rewind, as we like to call it, and looking at it now, you just saddened because you don't get that kind of TV. And the thing about it, all those great actors and actresses became to be very successful outside of just the shows they were particularly on, and they remain to be iconic.
Yeah, they became like family. If you look at Martin, everybody who's on the Martin show, when Tommy died, a lot of us felt that, and you can see, and Cole is always going to be Cole.
Yeah.
Like whatever Carl Payne is his name, but whatever he does, he's going to be Cole.
Yeah.
Tisha and Tashina and Tisha Campbell, that's Pam.
Yeah, and Martin's coming back from what I'm hearing.
Yeah. This was some kind of reboot. I know he's going on tour next year. He's hosting any event. There was actually something though that staying on that same subject. Amanda Seales, if you're familiar with her.
Yeah.
And so she does this show that she tours. It's called Smart, Funny, and Black. If it ever comes to your city, I've heard nothing but rave reviews. I think it's coming. I think it's going to close out the tour in LA. If that's the case, I might even take a trip down there, where it just covers pop culture, music, all this sort of stuff. And there was a part where they had a question, just sidebar. We just kind of talking a little bit. It said, which couple do you think would have made it, like today in 2019, that from back then till right now?
Social media days, right?
Yeah. Well, so take from when the show was on the air, to who would still be together today. And the question was, Martin and Gina, would they still be together, or Dwayne and Whitley? Because them was,
Dwayne and Whitley. No, Martin and Gina. I think Martin and Gina. I'd say Martin and Gina.
You think Martin and Gina would have made it?
I think they would have made it. Because they've gone through so many different tidal waves within, right? You got to remember that was a moment when the whole marriage thing, motherfuckers had cold feet and things of that nature.
That's more than Dwayne interrupting the wedding when Whitley's going to marry old dude.
See, that's the things. Gina never was about to marry anybody. You know what I mean? That's some other type of stuff. You know? You about to go sit there and say, hey, I'm got to jump in and be the wedding crasher. That's a whole
powerful move, too.
I would never do it.
See, this thing growing up, Dwayne Wayne spoke to me.
Okay, you was the Dwayne Wayne guy?
Like, he was somebody that, like, because I think that's what's important, too, when we talk about telling our stories, is that we're not all one type.
Not at all.
Like, we're not
even though they're trying to put us as one type.
Yeah, like there were so many different looks and reflections of us as a people that you could be a little more Dwayne versus Ron Johnson. Yep. You could be a little more Martin as opposed to Theo. Yep. You could be a little more, you could see yourself in all these different, different lenses and different shows, which
there's too much machonism now. There's just too much macho now. But go ahead.
Yeah, and so which I thought was cool to me, like growing up, like I said, Dwayne Wayne. Not only was Dwayne Wayne speaking to me, the fact that he was somebody who was, he was a brainy dude. He was little, he had his little moments of being social and stuff, but he was really more kind of reserved. He was one of the few cases where the nice guy got the girl.
Yeah.
Because he got played by Denise Huxtable. Like he was just, he was going hard to paint for her, and she just kept shining him. He kept getting shouldered off, and then he actually ended up with the girl that worked. That was something that I appreciated. But I just enjoyed that time period to where we can just turn on the TV and just see that we're not all. Everybody's not trying to be a dope boy.
No.
Everybody's not trying to make it to the league.
No.
Everybody's not trying to, be the man on canvas. There's dudes who are trying to be engineers.
And there was also black excellence in such a way that it defined us from saying, here's our culture, and we appreciate and value our culture, where we embraced it in such a way that we made it look magnificent, right? Yeah. Now, in this sense, we're so ingrained into looking at other people's cultures and saying, well, I want in on there. And the thing about it, what cracks me up, right?
Yeah.
We talk about, how it looked and what it looked like when we talk about black excellence, those shows, because they were very rare, and for it to be that raw, so it spoke to us as we were coming up, because it was like, oh, that's us, right?
Yeah.
It kills me that black people, and it goes a little bit different from what we're talking about, but has similarities to what we're having a discussion on. We tend to want to say all this unity, we have to do black empowerment, build black, spend black, support black, right?
Yeah.
Black businesses and all this kind of crazy shit. But we tend and we find ourselves not spending the way we could spend with black businesses the way we spend with white businesses. And I say that not in a sense of, I do know white businesses, Asian business may have more to offer, but when the time we do come to spend, right, a Negro will make every single damn excuse about spending $10 for a product, right?
Yeah.
But we'll turn around in the high white designer, department stores and go ahead and spend the number of $100 plus on whatever product it is and make no complaint about it at all. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
it frustrates me because when you look at those shows, right?
Yeah.
It shows me how far we've gone from what those shows were telling us, right? And speaking to us to do to now where we're at right now. We force ourselves to actually do things for each other, but it's easy for us to go out there and do things for other people and support other people. Yeah. That shit kills me.
So what I got from in that time period of shows, which I think was important, which leads to some of that, is that the idea of, I didn't go to a HBCU, but the idea of going to one at that time period was normal to me because of school days, because of the Cosby Show in a different world.
Do the right thing.
That time period of everything I looked at, what I was watching, everybody was going, you know, even like we had Martin wearing a Grambling sweatshirt.
Bro.
Or wearing a, you know.
That was a trend-setting, marketed, like before social media, that was marketed.
Everybody was wearing HBCU sweatshirts, hats.
And they look good.
Yeah. And so to me, the idea of you saying, oh, okay, like my cousin, when she graduated high school in California, she went down to Clark. That to me was, it wasn't, oh, you going all the way to Atlanta? It was, oh, cool. Like, out of this list of schools, that just made sense because everything I kept seeing. The idea of doing business, it's the same time period to where the movies I was watching were all predominantly black casted movies. So like Boomerang, a highly underrated movie,
very underrated,
and a major component like in the time period. Sidebar, they're talking about him possibly coming back to stand up, trying to work a deal out with them. But something Eddie Murphy took a lot of heat for is because the reviews kept roasting him because he had a movie that there was no white lead.
Exactly.
That it was an all black.
It wasn't a
cast,
white love interest.
Nothing. And even he was a marketing exec, the whole corporation, from the top execs to the person who owned the business, all the way to Chris Rock in the mailroom. It was all black. Everybody's relationship, love interest, black. David Allen Greer's parents come to visit, black. Like he took heat because they're trying to say that he made a black movie. He was like, nah, like if I make a movie, if it's starring whomever and it's all execs and business and it's all white people, it's not a white movie. I made a movie that does not require, a white lead, doesn't require white romantic. But these are the type of things that I was watching growing up.
But let's go into this.
Okay.
Speaking on that Boomerang.
Okay.
What was really the difference between the Boomerang movie and the Coming to America movie? That did have, in particular, two white guys that played a comedic value in it because they were in trading places with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
What would be the difference?
The difference? Nothing to me. That was,
there is a difference.
Coming to America. I have to go through the story.
Coming to America.
Prince Akeem comes to America. Him and Simi.
Because in reality, Coming to America, hindsight being 2020, with all the Wakanda, Black Panther, we really know that this is really what we
that's Zamunda is the original Wakanda.
Originated from.
Zamunda is the original Wakanda.
Zamunda, when it was laughed upon. It wasn't embraced. It was almost kind of like a joke. Even McDowell's, right?
Yeah.
Right? But what if that was an all black cast, pretty much predominantly black cast, right?
I can't think of anybody white.
Black. The two guys, the white guys who played the homeless dudes.
Yeah, but they was 30 seconds in the movie.
But still. Yeah. All right. Boomerang. What do you feel the significant difference was? Why were they so turned off about Boomerang, but so turned up about Coming to America?
Because Boomerang was all executive, professional black men and women who were all succeeding, who were all excelling, who were all in black relationships, who did not have to get their check from, nor at any point in time in the movie did they have to adhere to white people.
It was a very, very comedic but serious, more serious than the Coming to America that was laughs upon laughs.
And the one other part that I put with Boomerang is the only real interaction that had to do with white people in Boomerang is when they went clothes shopping, and that it was Martin, Eddie, and David Allen Greer. They're looking at sports jackets, and the dude comes up to him and he's like, we have a no return policy. And he's like, what we just going to wear it up and try to bring it back? And dude's like, there's no cash in the store type stuff, whatever. Just to kind of reiterate that point, and when they're walking out, they didn't even spend money in the store because of his attitude. And then Eddie kind of get like made a little noise when the dude jumped and said, "See how he got scared," and walked off. That's the only real interaction with white people in the movie. But the difference of Coming to America is fictitious Zamunda.
Yeah.
It's rooted in more fairy tale-ish,
character based.
This is the prince of a far off fictional country,
and most of the times niggas wouldn't have known that, and it was
so everything about it you can lead to it's fictional, it's not real because it doesn't exist. Whereas Boomerang was like, they were in New York City, all execs, business professional, living their day-to-day lives.
It looked like a white movie played by black people.
Exactly. And that's where I make the differentiation when it comes to stuff like I got a partner of mine who does movies, and I always joke with him. He was always the black guy in movies. And so he was the black guy in this, the black guy in that, and he does a TV show now where he's a guy who happens to be black. Like the role he plays is not, he's not the black guy on the show. The role you can obviously tell was not, if you look at it, obviously it was probably not written for a black person. He just happens to be, a person who's black. Boomerang, though it was representing for the culture, the bare bones of the story is not a black movie. A bunch of business execs. It's the dude he's well-to-do, good-looking guy who all the women like. He's making his round till all of a sudden a woman comes in who's his male equivalent, and she does him like he's been doing women. That's not a black thing. You know what I mean? And then he get his heart broken, and then he ends up falling for the one who was really down for him, and then has a real relationship. That's not a quote-unquote black movie. That's a movie starring black people.
Yeah.
And the influx of the culture and the nuanced stuff that makes it speak to us a little bit more. Yeah. But Eddie took a lot of heat for that movie.
Well, and the simple fact is, here we are living in 2019, where winning a Grammy and winning an Emmy is a big deal still for Negroes. I mean, I heard that When They See Us was nominated for the most Emmy awards or whatever. For the great depiction of the atrocity,
horrific story of real life people. Yeah.
And I even tried to share it with some of my friends. They didn't want to watch it because I think it shocked them. Like, this is how we've been treated. Like, this is the truth.
Real. And it's not 40 years ago.
No, this is very recent. Yeah. And I think that we have to get away from this idea that being accepted in a culture that has not accepted us because we've been so innovative, we've been so different, that we've never mirrored what they wanted us to mirror, because mostly a lot of the racism that we have approached is due to jealousy. You know what I'm saying? It's envy. It's being afraid of truly black people's greatness. And our ability to be so resilient has just allowed us to sometimes accept what they've given us. And I think that these symbolic gestures of, guess what? Because we feel bad, we're going to nominate you guys 12. And it's like a celebration. The Corey kid who got the most fucking abuse out of the whole 5, of course he had an extraordinary performance. So he has best leading role or supporting, I don't know, but he's up for his Emmy, the actor that played, that role of Corey in the movie. But my thing is, I get tired of our inability to just resist from the temptation that is white people trying to give us a bone, and just say, you know what, thank you, but this Emmy, this Grammy, this thing that you continue to pull over my head, that's supposed to be my platform of I finally made it, I'm successful now, because you have granted me the due diligence to say, you know what, that was a hell of a performance, or that was a hell of an album, you got it. When you look at Boomerang, why wasn't that acceptable? Why wasn't that a successful movie about love, about black love, when we've watched all of the dumb, overplayed, overzealous white movies that were coming around that time? I can't remember how many love interests Tom Cruise had or Mel Gibson had. You know what I'm saying? And it was old. I mean, freaking Michael Douglas had, right?
Oh, he was running through.
He was running through them. It's a redundant episode of just the same shit we do, but we get thrown tomatoes at, and they get exalted in Emmy Award winning, Academy Award, Oscar Award performances, when it's looked upon us as, that's not good enough. And I think that we as black people have to start realizing that their platforms are not for us. You remember there was a point in time that they didn't televise the Grammys.
I don't remember.
But there was the Grammy Awards for hip hop. Was not televised, right?
Yeah.
And the artists that have won some of the Grammy Awards for hip hop are like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
they're like
what? Right? They literally have stolen our culture. And I can't say stolen. I feel like we've given it up, because I think that's what we do. We like to give it up, and that's something that we'll talk about when we talk about like this gentrification thing. Because we want to talk about this. 47% of Oakland's become homeless, but that's another conversation with that. But sticking to this point right here, we have to get out of the mindset that white is right, black is okay, and if we don't have white approval, we don't exist to be what we feel is the pinnacle of success.
Yeah, what I would like to see more is that if we treated the Emmys and the Oscars the way we treat the NAACP and BET Awards.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
I mean, because reality of it is like, we sit there and say, and as a group, I know there's some people like, this, that, as a collective, the Oscars, the Emmys, the Grammys, all that stuff is the pinnacle of the profession. I get that. That's for the dominant culture of society. That's what it is. We started our own awards to showcase and highlight our people because we had consistently been snubbed and disregarded and disrespected in those forums. So we have NAACP Image Awards, we have BET Awards, we have all those things, and we don't even, half the time our major stars don't even show up.
Not at all.
There'll be the award show, a whole presentation of this, that. The only time you really consistently see somebody show up is a Lifetime Achievement Award. That's when you're on the back end of your career and you're just like happy to get to shine again.
Yeah.
And so,
I got the call?
Yeah. And so we show up to those. I would like to see, to me, it's not even say you don't have to care about winning a Grammy or care about, because I think in any profession that you're giving your heart and soul to be acknowledged for doing it well, it has its place.
Yeah, I mean.
But the fact is that if we're going to say that is amazing and this is not even worth showing up, that's the problem. So I would like to see if there could be a reversal. Put some more love and put some respect on an NAACP BET award that, like, here's us championing us, celebrating us, and then treat those the way that they've treated you.
Yeah.
Like we talk about like how Boomerang's place was, how it was disrespected with pretty much when it came to reviews and stuff. Another one which was meant almost equal disrespect and did less financially was Harlem Nights.
I was just about to say that, bro.
For the same reason. Because these were black, well-to-do gangsters coming out of Harlem who it was Richard Pryor, Red Fox,
an all-star cast, as well as folks that were on the come up in that movie.
Oh, I mean, if you go Robin Harris, rest in peace Robin Harris, rest in peace Charlie Murphy, they were both in that movie. You take go all throughout just every scene. Rest in peace to Red Fox. Rest in peace to Della Reese. Like, if you just all the people who were throughout that movie, if you went off of just cast alone and where they were in their careers, Tommy, talking about for Martin, Arsenio Hall at the time period, like all these dudes there wasn't but 2-3 more people you could have put in that movie. Like between Harlem Nights and Boomerang was everybody in black comedy with the exception of Bill Cosby. Like, I mean, realistically, it was right before Bernie. So, I mean, with the exception of like Bill Cosby, like everybody in both those movies for relatively the same reason. A movie about black gangsters coming out of Harlem
and black love,
who got the best of the white gangsters and the best of the crooked white police officers, who then went on to, nobody died, nobody went to jail, they prospered and were able to move on and beat the game, met with the same criticism and review disrespect. You know,
that should tell you a lot.
Had it ended like Life, where they went to prison, probably better reviews.
Yeah, probably, right?
Had one of Eddie's girlfriends been blonde haired and blue eyed in Boomerang, probably different. Or had the Robin Givens character, or had the boss been something else, or something that would have had to put us in a subservient position, then it would be more widely accepted. And I think that's very telling of how we move.
Well, I think that because a lot of us take notes into what, white media says or has to say and criticizes us in that way, I think that we spend our time really, unfortunately, deciding about what we're going to support by the effect of what they've dictated to us, right? Okay, well, that's not good. I guess that ain't good because that white person said it. I mean, it's just true that our culture has adopted, if it ain't white, it ain't right. If it's too dark, you might need to sit there and take some time to think about it for a second.
Well, and that's why I think that, and even kind of going to touch on what you're talking about like on the gentrification side, is that growing up in an era where going to a predominantly black college was the norm, watching TV and programs where whenever somebody dated interracially, it was the joke of the episode. Like, it was like you were supposed to be with if you were a black woman, you're supposed to be with a black guy. If you're a black man, like it was like any of those things we're seeing different. So the idea of living in a community that were, predominantly black was normal. Black businesses, normal. Dating, black marriages and family, normal. Going to a HBCU, normal. Black business, all this stuff was normal. So then once you start to shift away from what was normal that we saw regularly, then it became foreign. And then that starts to trade place into the workplace. Because when you're in an era growing up of everybody you see on TV looks like you, dates people who look like you, does business with people who looks like you, when you go out into life, you're naturally going to follow suit. Well, then when you don't see that anymore, then the same thing follows. Yeah. So now we have places to where we don't do business with one another like we used to.
Not at all.
The idea of going to a HBCU gets a side eye. The idea of the fact that there has to be a campaign to work and build and grow with each other is ridiculous. And so then we start looking at the results. Well, what does a community look like that does not support itself? What does the educational systems look like when they're not supported by the people who went there or who they feel like it was designed for? We have all these great, phenomenal engineers and athletes and entertainers or whatever. Some of them who went to HBCUs who do not give back to them. Yeah. We have some who didn't go to them but don't see the need to support them. Mm-hmm. We've got people who live in the community who don't think it's important to spend money within the community. People who live in the community don't think it's important to buy it and to be able to sustain the community. So then you have things like gentrification, where you live somewhere but you don't own where you live. And then it is the economy of the area is not people who look like you. Mm-hmm. You go into any predominantly black area, you don't call them black communities, they're just areas that have predominantly black, because the ownership of the businesses, ownerships of the real estate, ownership of the equity, none of it is owned by black people. So it's not a black community. It's just a community that's got black people in it.
Yeah, and I think that we, let's just stay there just for a second. Yeah. Hear what we're saying, Negro. Yeah. We occupy. I can't call it a black community, right? So, yeah. We occupy.
That's all it is.
The occupation means that we're there, but nothing around us speaks volumes to us. We don't control, nor do we dictate, do we have stock in, these quote unquote places that we live in. And I think that becomes the biggest issue where we can get gentrified, because it's one thing to call a black community a community and you have all things black aside to a church. I don't care about the 6 churches that are within the black community. Yeah. I care about that corner store is owned black. I care about is that gas station is owned black. I care about if that medical center, if it is one, is predominantly, if it's not owned, but run black. Yeah. And these things aren't happening.
Yeah. So one thing, a big difference to recognize is that it's not a black restaurant because black people eat there. Nah. It's not a black hotel because black people rent rooms.
And black people work there.
Yeah, it's a quote unquote black hotel because the owner of the hotel is black.
Yeah.
It's a black restaurant because the owner of the restaurant is black. Just because 2 of the floors are rented out by black people this weekend, that does not make the Hilton a black hotel.
Dumbest thing that you ever heard what black people said was Bill Clinton was the first black president because he smoked weed.
He smoked weed, played jazz, and cheated on his wife.
And got head.
And that's supposed to be quote unquote black tendencies.
Exactly, right?
That type of BS.
That shows you what volume we're at of the ignorance and the mentality that we have to change when we think like that. But I think the myth has to be clear. Just as when I was on Fox 40 News locally this past week, and they were asking me about how I felt about Donald Trump trying to make the cuts with the SNAP program, which is called the food stamp program with Medi-Cal and all that other stuff that comes into it, housing, Section 8. I said, well, let's get the myth cleared.
Yeah.
Black and Hispanic aren't going to be the ones truly affected.
Yeah,
in a majority.
We're not the primary on that.
The primary is white America.
Yeah.
And that's a myth. So as we cleared that myth to say, well, white folk will be looking at the president sideways, not really black folk and Hispanic. Let's clear the myth on what a black community is. A black community is a community that is ingrained with things surrounded and operated by them, control.
Yeah.
And we don't have that. We don't have that in the abundance that we've had before. In Sacramento, I don't think we have anything like that. But we do have black occupants in a community that they consider what? Black.
Yeah. We have areas that are just, I think the best word to use, occupied by black people. If you were to call it a black community, it needs to be rooted in culture and commerce.
And we're not talking about just churches.
Yeah, because so I say culture and commerce.
Break that down for me.
That if you go to the population, it is of this.
Okay.
And this is what the group of the people who sit there are. And their culture is represented in said area, and the commerce of said area is represented by those people, meaning the people who own the properties, the property taxpayers of those areas, the ones who occupy businesses and bring commerce through that funds the area.
Own a majority of the housing in that area.
And then where the money is spent within the area. That's when you start talking about a community. If you go to Chinatown, where Chinatown, anywhere in America, and where the people who live there own the places where they live, the businesses that are there are owned by the people who live there, and the commerce that is what they sell, what they do, their product is then bought and frequented by the people who live there, and the money that is taken, that is earned from that commerce, is then spent in the same place. That's when you talk about a community.
Yes, sir.
So we live here, we own where we live. We have businesses here, it is frequented by the people who live here. The money that is generated from the businesses, which is frequented by the people who live here, is then spent in the area that we all live here. That is a community. Yes. So if you've got people who have businesses where you are, but don't live where you are, they are not a part of that. That is not the construct of your community. Because we'll have areas that are predominantly black, where the homes are owned by Caucasian, Asians, Middle Easterns, whatever. The businesses in that area are run and owned by Caucasians, Middle Easterns, Asians, whatever. But the money that is generated in those areas is spent elsewhere. The guy, the Middle Eastern gentleman who owns the corner store, the Asian guy who owns the gas station, the white guy who owns the diner, they don't live there. So you come in and spend your money in their business. They take that money and go back to where they live. And then that's where their money is generated. That's where their homes are bought. That's where they pay for their kids to go to school. That's where they do all that stuff in their community. You just occupy space.
That's it.
You are an extended stay in this hotel.
And then when they decide,
up in the rate,
selling
a hotel,
and we're
anything,
gentrifying and doing whatever we do, then that's just what happens. And I think that
roll up your cot and bounce.
When you don't have the control that you need, that's necessary, in all communities, I think that you will continue to have this happening in every state in America. Because when you look at America within itself, the migration of the Chinese Americans, right?
Yeah.
Or the Chinese immigrants, that and making Chinese Americans as their offsprings. they've been able to come to each city, because I've traveled a lot. And one thing I found was MLK looked a certain way.
Yeah.
And that was hood. That was destitute.
Chris Rock joke. MLK, anywhere in America, Martin Luther King.
It was ghetto, right? And there was no foundation of what MLK represented looks like that in pretty much any city in the United States.
Yeah.
If there is one, please someone tell me. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's one in North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? But then when you talk about economic flow, when you talk about a resistance to outside culture influence, you look at Chinatowns, and every city in America set up. Here we have our little Saigon, right? And then we have other pockets in the Freeport area here in Sacramento. But everywhere in the United States, they've set their economics, they've set their value, they've set their culture, they've set their family, they've set their lineage here in a place where it looks familiar when the immigrants or you got to send the grandchild to get some of their roots. They've made it to where the elder as well as the youth can all be connected, where they have their own traveling agencies to be able to bring commerce back and forth, folks back and forth.
That's the culture with the
commerce. Culture has been set up and designed to not only have the food, but also to be able to operate in such a way that's so powerful that their economics stays in this corridor.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
No, we don't. The idea of, and just using Asians, they're not the only ones, but they're a pretty universal example, is that they've got a template. And even something as simple as, okay, get there, open up a Chinese food restaurant. Chinese food restaurants are pretty much universal anywhere you go. You can make the argument that maybe this one's a little oilier, or the MSG is a little higher than this one. But by and large, it's pretty. You could take the Pepsi challenge with most Chinese restaurants, and it's going to be a coin toss. But what they have done is that, all the noodles come from an Asian distributor. The soy sauce packets, Asian distributor. Chopsticks, Asian distributor. Fortune cookies, Asian distributor.
Wow.
Like, they keep it so in-house. Even to the place, I've been some places to where Chinese-run businesses, they take issue with hiring a Vietnamese person. Like, it's not even about, like, Asian. It's like, no, we are Chinese, and we're employing Chinese. Like, we're keeping it, unless that Vietnamese person speaks Chinese, because that's what we're going to be speaking here. We're dealing with English when we're dealing with English-speaking customers. But 80% of the time, we're keeping the culture intact. And we're taking this because it's a cash cow, and we're going to open up the dry cleaner, which is another go-to. And then we're going to open up, we're going to do the nail salon, which is another go-to. It's not coincidence that you see the restaurants next to the dry cleaner, next to the nail salon in Chinatowns everywhere, because it is a successful template.
Wow.
That they duplicate everywhere they go, because as long as it makes money,
that should be owned by us. But
why deviate from the formula if it's working? And then you use that. You put the church in there. You find a church. This is the center of praise. Like, this is where we go. We've got a church, and we got a church. These businesses, and we start buying up the homes. And you've got your place where you can pray. Then you get your school. You've got your place that creates commerce. You keep your community, your culture intact, keep it tight, and just expand and duplicate.
Yeah.
And it's the same formula across the country. These are not Brooklyn Chinese, Cleveland Chinese, Detroit Chinese, Houston Chinese, Sacramento Chinese, Seattle Chinese. You go to Chinatown, anywhere in America, is the exact same blueprint. Like, it's not crazy.
It's not, it's not only not crazy. It isn't as difficult as we, think it to be. I talked to a friend, and we shared some conversation about. It's almost like with black people, in order for you to get the support, there has to be some kind of lined ideology, right?
Yes.
And I think let's look at the church, because I think the church is, and forgive me, my Christian brothers and sisters who may be listening, I feel like the church has probably been one of the biggest components to us not rising from the ashes, aside to so many other things. But I say that in a sense of, we're so busy trying to pray ourselves or pay ourselves into heaven, right?
Okay.
When I say praying, Sunday, pray, and then we're tied in, boom.
Okay.
And we don't look at anything outside that. I say this because I say, when I talk about supporting an ideology, it's almost as if for those Bible toters who run around here saying the white Jesus with blue eyes has saved us, you have them not understanding that supporting black businesses, aside to supporting home church, is more a revolutionary and would be what Jesus wanted them to do. Because when you have folks that look at folks and will want to know what your faith is before they go ahead and buy something from you,
yeah,
it becomes a big issue. I say that because,
which is crazy.
I say that because we have at least about 8 to 10 different black churches, and of course, where I have the Voice of the Youth programming, where I have my thrift store, and the incubator, Florence Square, 2251 and 2245 Florence Road, and every Sunday we're open.
Yeah. And
all those churches come out. They know there's a thrift store there. They don't ever come by. They don't come by for a conversation. They don't come by to just, see what we got going on. Yeah. It's like they go into their little community space and they get the hell up out of here. What I'm saying is church has become so unfortunately attached to they creating their own community and forgetting the outside. And yeah. I've only seen a few, shouts out to my brother Pastor Les Simmons, who has understood with his congregation that the church is the community, not the community is the church. Get what I'm talking about? Okay. Where they understand the residue of black economics is an important factor for us to move. It's an important factor for somebody to come actually walk into your church to hear that you talking some of this real shit, not talking about some biblical fairy tale about if we just pray and just eat our cereal and drink some the blood of Jesus, we'll get into heaven, right?
Yeah.
It becomes a thing to where knowing that your brother on the outside, whether he believes in this same sanctuary that you believe in, it's just as important as my brother and sister to be able to have their basic essentials than just forcing them to say, well, before I can help you with your essentials, you got to come to church every Sunday.
Yeah, and this is like my thing with maybe it's just the way that I see it and approach it, which I never understood. If you're going to say that the church is the center, the end all be all, that this is what it is, and all the money that's generated,
billions,
the church building fund, if that's the case, then if you sat there and said this is the Paradise Tabernacle AME of Mount Zion, whatever, restaurant, this is the whatever dry cleaner. If you're going to sit there and say all the money generated is going to go into the church, fine. And then the church opens up the restaurant. The church opens up a dry cleaning. The church opens up. If you're going to say that the church is the basis and you want to do business, then open up the businesses even under the church. I don't care if Chick-fil-A lets you know. They stay holding the Bible. Chick-fil-A stay on it. They don't even open on Sunday. Like, you can't even get a chicken.
To the chagrin of a lot of people.
Yeah, can't even get a chicken sandwich on Sunday. And so, if you wanted to say, okay, well, this is what we're going to do, we're going to keep it all in-house.
And I guarantee you they're not hiring people based on religious beliefs.
But that's what I'm saying. No. And so, just can't.
Wait, hold on. Are you a Baptist? That's just the final question before you get it. Are you a Baptist?
Chick-fil-A's got culture. They have a very ingrained culture. They don't necessarily care who you pray to, but when you on the clock, this is how we do it over here. You can go home and pray whoever you want to, but when you show up in this building, you're going to act accordingly. But if the churches, if we're going to sit there and say we're going to put all our money in the churches and we're going to have 6 churches in a 6-mile radius, then all the money that's generated from 6 churches in a 6-mile radius should own up all the community centers, a grocery store, diners, everything that the community as a whole should need. I don't care if I need to go get my dry cleaning done from the Episcopalian dry cleaner.
No.
I don't care.
No.
I just need to get my shirts pressed.
No.
I don't care if I want to go through a drive-through and the owner of it happens to be, this is the Baptist missionary chicken spot.
No.
Fine. This is the vegan, whatever, Protestant So fine, I don't care. But if you're going to say that, but if we're going to build these communities and we're to say that the church is the only staple that we're going to support, then there needs to be.
We're in trouble. There needs to be a lot of things that you stated out, but we're in big trouble. Because once upon a time, the church was the end all be all, right?
Yeah.
The pastor was the lawyer. He was the marriage counselor. He was a financial advisor.
Yeah.
He was the big brother. He was a father. He was the mentor. He was everything and anything. Now that shit's out the door.
Pastor.
He's just pastor, reverend, and he look a lot like me because we've now seen the flaws. The idea that we keep on moving, we are continuously running the same game plan year in and year out. Like, for instance, when the Phoenix Suns kept on trying to beat the San Antonio Spurs, right?
Okay.
They eventually was like, well, it ain't the players, it's got to be what?
The coaches, the culture, yeah.
Now, the same coach has moved to Houston, right?
Yeah.
And now,
one game away from the finals appearance.
Now, and things happen, but he now has another superstar with his other superstar. What do you think is going to end up happening if they don't get to the finals of the Western Conference or to the finals? And why is that?
Because the system that he has in place is not successful.
So why in the hell do we as black people see this continuous system that we continue to buy into, whether it's the white system or the black way of navigating in the white system, the how to do it the black way in the white system, so you don't get lynched, so you don't get assassinated, so you just kind of just get through, and hopefully you make it, and hopefully they accept you and you can live a good life. Why do we continuously look at this same system and not just say, look at this playbook and throw it away and just go ahead and just change up coaches and everything else?
So all this tying together. So if you go to the 90s, where the playbook was, we were with each other, and you saw constant imagery, constant examples of coming together. And you saw a prosperity amongst black people in the 90s where we had entrepreneurship, we had business building, there were a lot of black millionaires that were coming out of that time period in groundbreaking fields that had not existed previously. That was the template that was working. Same way I said about how Chinatown, Anywhere America, this is the template that's working, so they just keep duplicating it. We have a broken template that we just keep duplicating. Like this idea of not buying up where we live, of not supporting local businesses, of not working together and building together. It is a proven failing system.
Yes,
it is a proven failing template. Like at this point now, we've got more than enough data in. Like the jury's done deliberating. We have come to find across the board that this is a non-successful way of doing things. And we just continue in Anywhere America to keep duplicating this flawed template. And I think part of what we got to get into is, like I said, going back to where we started at the top, is that the boomerangs. About showcasing the working together, showcasing the black excellence, showcasing the success in the coming together, and showing models of possibility that shows where it works, and highlighting that. Because we don't. And we gonna have to do something.
No, and I think
you know what I mean. Like,
and I think that what you're saying is correct, because we're gonna have to do something. And I think that what some of the things that we're doing in a preference of showing an example, we hired 26 young black youth, right?
Yeah,
and probably have another 5 in the fold of doing other businesses, because of course we created the summer programs and summer nights of impact, right? And this is our second year of doing it. And this time, we wasn't getting any funding from any large scale entity. It's kind of like grassroots, really. And we're also finding out with grassroots, people don't really support grassroots like they want to say.
Yeah.
So now when I'm going to go get my money from these government entities that say we got some money for you. I'm going to look at all these people that are going to try to say, Barry, that's not revolutionary. I'm going to say, well, when I had the program and I put the monies on the back of me and my team, and we had to scrape to figure out how we're going to pay 26 youth at the end of the summer, right? Which is going to be equivalent to almost $20,000 depending on the hours that they make, right? Yeah. Where were you to help us fund that?
They were tithing.
You get what I'm saying? So that becomes a bigger issue. Yeah. Don't tell me about what we should do. So we're doing it. We've created something not only for our youth, but for the community.
Yeah.
For 2 years in a row, we've hired. So we went from having 15 young people that we hired, 15 to 17 young people we hired last year, to now 26 plus.
Yeah. And here's the goal, like with and why the example is important, and going on what you're saying is that, and for people who aren't quite getting that, oh, it's a summer job or it's whatever. No, what it is that you have a younger generation who in their brain thinks they can go to another black person for opportunity. Because when that's not the case, when it's, hey, I need you. Can you listen to this? Can you do this? Well, can you do anything for me? Can you put me in a position? You say, don't sell drugs. Don't get involved in this. Don't start doing that. Well, can you help me out with an alternative? No? Oh, okay. Well, I got to do what I got to do then. And then these are young people who are growing up working alongside people who look like them. So what it becomes is that's a norm. It's, okay, well, I got an opportunity from somebody who looks like he could be my uncle or my dad or my older brother. And I'm working alongside people who look like me for a community that looks like me. Mm-hmm. This becomes ingrained in my brain as a thing to do. It's not some foreign thing that I've never seen before. It becomes the norm. Much like watching people who look like you go to college when you're in the 8th grade, or looking at people who are successful who look like you when you're 13 or 14. These young people now who are in their high school years, these formative years still, these are things that they're having and experiencing. So now when they go out into the world, it's, oh no, I can work with my people.
Not only that,
you know what I mean?
Not only that, I can not only work with my people, I'm learning these aggressive job skills at an earlier age so I can be on tout with other people.
I'm ahead of the curve.
I go ahead and I create my resume, because you got to remember the rare thing that we're doing, especially on this last round, because the first round we did it last summer, we had 16, our youngest person was probably 16.
Okay.
Right? Everybody was 16, 17, 18. We had some 20-year-olds, right? We literally have 14-year-olds working.
Yeah.
14-year-olds. 15-year-olds working. First time they've ever worked. And in this core of young people, a lot of them, so, we have a few returners coming back, I suppose, some from college and some from our last program. Not only are they getting job skills that are necessary for them to navigate and move, we're training them to be bosses. We're not training them to be workers. Yeah. We're giving them this idea of this is how you move if you want to be a boss and be accountable. We're giving them boss plays. It's not worker play. It's not this is how you are going to be an employee. We are giving you boss mode, not no other thing, because as we do our youth development program and our team building pieces, which are very important, we're treating these kids as much as Google would treat their employees by giving them little initiatives, gift card here, if they do something correctly, we're rewarding them, some incentives, hats, these things that they do. We're taking the little bit of the budget that we have and making sure we're having this job be based not only on performance, but as well as you're feeling this camaraderie, this familyhood. So if you ain't getting it at home, you're getting it over here.
Okay, and this is something very important, which is going with what you're saying, because I think that this is an important piece that they got to make sure they get. I was talking with somebody, and I got some very good information. I got just good game. I think you learn every day about the breakdown economically for businesses. So if you make $35,000 a year, you're getting paid for the job that you work. So if you do clerical work and you make $32,000 a year, you're getting paid for clerical work. That's your paycheck.
That's it.
Don't think you deserve more. Don't think that you because the job market changes or rent goes up or whatever, you're not entitled to more. If you make less than less than $35,000 a year, you're getting paid directly A to B for your time. If you make $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, you're getting paid for your ability to manage someone else. If you make $60,000 a year, $65,000 a year, there is somebody under you. At least one or two people who your job is to make sure something is done. Mm-hmm. So if you're sitting there saying, well, how much responsibility do I have? Am I responsible for anybody else? No. Then that's why you're getting paid what you make. Mm-hmm. If you're making $50,000, $60,000, $65,000 a year, you can guarantee there's at least one or two people that have to report to you, or that it is your job to oversee that something is done. Yeah. If you make over $100,000 a year, anything when you get over six figures, that means at some point in time when things don't go right, the buck stops with you.
Trust me.
So when you make $30,000 a year, if you work at McDonald's and you on fries, if enough potatoes weren't ordered, that does not hit your desk. Nah. Because your job, you're getting paid to cook fries. If you make $100,000 a year and your store is running out of potatoes, you are gone. Yeah. Because the buck stopped with you. And so for what these kids are learning, and which I've started to see and talking to them and seeing how they're operating, they're learning how to not only do their job, the A to B, the 30,000, but they're also, some of the older ones are learning how to delegate to the ones beneath them.
Boss.
And they're learning how that shifts them into the management where they can oversee. And then you're seeing even the older ones who, they're learning the accountability. So they're in a position that when they're given responsibility and an income accordingly, they can handle it because they're knowing the moves that they make, it's hitting their desk.
Boss.
They're learning the tools which will put them in that position to where they're not making $20,000 a year just on fries.
Boss.
They're learning things at 14, 15, 16 that will put them in a position of management and then potential ownership. And these are traits that they're learning at a young age, which will put them in a much better position, which is why programs like this need to be supported.
And when Negroes don't support it and support fraudulent characters, fraudulent behavior, and shit that just goes with the norm, it becomes stagnant, and we continue to run the same systematic playbook that has gotten us nowhere. It has gotten us nowhere because they don't respect the fact that we don't have a fighter mentality. We have a flight mentality. We have I'm going to be passive mentality. Yeah. We should have a takeover. And a simple fact, I want folks to understand something. 26 black youth. That ain't saying that I ain't going to hire no Asian or Latino or whatever. But my whole purpose was to hire 26 black youth. So our team said, we don't care who comes inside. They're going to see black kids working.
Now think about that. That's 26 from one program. How many programs are currently running in the city of Sacramento during the summer? Just a round number.
Probably maybe.
Half dozen maybe?
Yeah, half dozen.
So you can instantly put 125 young black kids to work right now.
Yes, sir.
If everybody got on the same mentality, and and some folks got much deeper budgets.
Oh, definitely.
So that number could be substantially
like literally we're creating something out of nothing. You know what I mean? In a way that it's coming out of our own pockets with a few maneuvers that we are able to create, to raise. But to run a program just like this, it surfaces close to 100,000 plus.
So as we talk about these things, if we was going to tie that in together, I think it's time that we shine things on over to a Barry Accius final word.
Oh, man. Well, here's the final word, man. The final word is this. As we look at 47% of Oakland's population has risen into be in poverty, we got to look at what our future looks like for our young people. And our future looks like our young people is this. Very bleak. If we as black people don't start doing something, and the doing something is the Summer Nights of Impact program, which is one program of many programs in the summer that is focusing not only just on community, but it's also focused on employing and empowering our young people. When we say employing, we want to make sure our young people have the skills to be employed by others that look like us and others that don't, as well as empowering. We want to be able to give those skills, leadership skills, advocacy skills, social skills, right? Those things that no longer are being taught, no longer are being sought out in the classrooms or in the household. We want to condition ourselves to realize that our young people are sponges. And if we get them right now properly and give them the antidote of success, the antidote of being a boss, and giving a bigger lens with incentives, with care, with love, with also truth. I think that we're going to have a better outcome, because if we don't, as a society, look at what's going on and think that we have the excuse to say that it's not going to be one of us. Every day I wake up, I say to myself, I do not want to be that person that's going in the garbage, looking for trash, looking for food. I could never knock a person that's homeless, but it saddens me that we have a society that looks at the problem of the homeless as a problem of those individuals that are homeless, when in reality, the problem of the homeless is a problem of American greed, and the fact that we do not care about those who can't keep up with the constant tidal wave and curveballs of life. No one deserves not to have a place to live, food, and clothing, and a good, decent life. No one deserves that. So I will say this as I touch. Think about it, family. It could be us, and we need to start learning how to support each other better and building in a different kind of system.
Because these are things that we need to make sure we're getting on top of and supporting our communities and being there for us. For not only us who are here right now, but for those of us who are coming behind us. For more conversation like this, for riveting stimulation and proper information, where can folks find you online, sir?
Barry Accius, Instagram, Barry Accius, Facebook, Barry Accius, Twitter. And make sure you go to Hidden Gems Thrift Store, 2245 Florin Road, Suite 12, as well as blackblueprintswithaz.com.
I'm Jermaine Morris on Facebook. Every other social media platform is at JMorrisCEO. It's been a Say Something podcast. And until next show,
yes, sir.
we will holler at you later.
You.